Thank you for downloading Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. This is part 2 of our season recap, playoff preview megapod. Sam and I quickly breeze through opening round matchups and spend most of our time talking about the Cavs-Pacers rematch from last year. Once again, we want to remind you that if you're a fan of all things Cleveland like myself, make sure to check out our Browns podcast, the Orange is Oranger Browns podcast. We had former Browns tight end Gary Barnard on the show yesterday, and he gave incredible insight on an NFL offseason and his career with the Browns. You can find that anywhere you listen to podcasts. Okay, here it is, Sam and I with your 2018 Cavs playoff preview. Enjoy the show.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
All right, so this is Cavs on the Break NBA podcast, not Houston, not OKC, Portland, Golden State, not any other team in the East. So here's what we're going to do. Just very, very quickly, I want to hear who you think is going to win the series, Sam, and then we'll spend the rest of the time talking about really breaking down the Cavs-Pacers series. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
So in the West, real quick, we have Houston, Minnesota. Who do you see winning that series, Sam?
Houston.
Is it
do you want me to go on more than that, or you just want my pick?
We'll do a pick and then maybe how many games.
Okay. I would say Houston. I think that won't be too difficult for them. Although, the one thing about Minnesota is they play playoff-style basketball all season here with Thibodeau. They play that grinded-out defensive style of playoffs all year. So I wouldn't, I'm not going to pick Minnesota to upset them, but I wouldn't be surprised if we went 6 games. And, just because of Minnesota, the way they play.
Yeah. I'll go Rockets in 5. OKC, Utah, very interesting series there, Sam.
And what's interesting there now is OKC has home court advantage after Utah lost on the final day of the regular season. I'm going to go OKC in 7. Utah has been a great story this year, having lost Gordon Hayward. Really had a shot at that number 3 seed, but I think the Thunder with their 3 stars are going to get it together in this first round and win that.
I'm going to go coach over players here and say Utah in 7.
That's great. You know what? I don't know if you know this, but Quinn Snyder was my roommate at basketball camp back when we were in high school. So
no way.
Yeah, he showed up, this scrawny little guy, and he said, "Where are you going to college?" It was like our first day in the room, in the dorm room. It was at the College of Worcester, actually.
Yeah.
And he said, I said, "I'm not sure yet." I was a year younger than him. I'm like, I haven't really talked to any colleges or anything, He's like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about going to Washington or Missouri or Cal or Duke." And I'm like, "Oh, sure you are. You look like a dentist."
Yeah.
You're going to play basketball at Duke, sure. And then like a half hour later, and I knew he was like a straight A student and, was valedictorian of his class and everything. So I thought, this guy, come on, he's a nerd. And the first, we went and played a pickup game in the gym, and he and I were on the same team. I delivered the ball to him, and he took 2 dribbles and went in and dunked over 2 6'8" guys. And I was like, okay, maybe he is going to Duke.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
Yeah, and he did. That's where he ended up going to Duke. So there's my Quinn Snyder story. But he's always been a good person to turn to when I need some info because of our relationship.
Great. So I'll go Jazz in 7. Portland, New Orleans.
I'm going to go with Portland there. I think that'd probably be the least watched series outside of those 2 cities. Although I think there's going to be some good games in that series. I'm going to go with Portland in 6, just because they've been playing so well. But this, a lot of these have the makings of a first round upset. I think this one does.
Yeah.
And I certainly think Utah, Oklahoma City does. But I'm going to go with Portland in 6.
Yeah, I'll say Portland in 6 as well, though I think, like you said, if there is going to be a round 1 upset, it could be here. Anthony Davis could just go bonkers and really step into his own. So we'll see. Portland 6. Golden State, San Antonio. Finish out the West here.
I'm going to go Golden State in 6 as well. I think this is obviously if all of a sudden Kawhi Leonard comes back and the Warriors don't have Steph Curry, things could get really interesting. But that's not going to happen. I don't think Leonard's coming back. San Antonio just does not have the guys this year. So Golden State's going to step it up. They have not been playing well toward the end of the regular season, but they'll step it up now. And they're a veteran playoff team that's going to probably do pretty well.
I'm going to say Golden State in 4. I think they're just it's a miracle San Antonio's in the. I mean,
that's true. Yeah.
Props to Pop, but
you're just overmatched.
Pull a short straw and San Antonio and the Golden State Warriors. You just
yeah.
All right.
I think you're right there.
All right, so Toronto, Washington go to the East. The 1-8 here.
I'm going to say Toronto in 5, only because the Wizards are such have been a mess. But I mean, I could, wouldn't it be something if they won? Toronto has not been historically a great playoff team. Nope. And Washington, this was supposed to be the year that Washington kind of made their move and they went south. So I'm going to say Toronto in 5, though I don't think Washington will get it together enough to win this series.
I'm going to say Toronto in 7. Awesome matchups. I think Toronto's a better team, super deep. Washington is just scrappy. They're going to play hard. They're going to, if not fight themselves, fight in every game.
Yeah, right.
So I think they're going to kind of knock each other out almost, lending to the round 2 matchup to be fairly simple for the Cavs. We'll come back to Cleveland, Indiana, Philly, Miami.
You know what? I think Philly played too well at the end of the year. I think they're going to be like the Indians. And go in the playoffs on that winning streak. What the Indians would 21 in a row last year, go in the playoffs. Yeah. I think that the Sixers will. I think I'm going to pick Miami in 6 here, and I know people are going to be like, "What?" But I just think that Spoelstra is an excellent coach.
Agreed, 100%.
Maybe Dwayne Wade can dust himself off for a playoff series. This is a team that has been together a little bit. They've got a good big guy. They've got, if Embiid comes back, Whiteside and he have had some battles, and they talk a lot of trash.
Good matchup.
And I think that I just think that Philly's riding a little bit. Now, I could be wrong. I could see Philly going to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I'm going to pick an upset here, and I think it's just because the Sixers are riding a little bit too high without having experienced the playoffs at all. Now, again, they could go to these finals. They could go to the finals, the Sixers. They have that kind of talent. But I'm going to pick them to lose here in 6 games of the Heat.
I think this is the worst draw that I think they could have had in the playoffs.
Yes.
An amazing coach, a really kind of unique team. A team that really plays well together. Any one of the guys can go off any night. And I think they have the physicality to D Simmons up. They got Justice Winslow. Winslow's on the Heat, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
James Johnson is another guy, a former Portsmouth Invitational guy.
There you
James
go.
Johnson. So, I suspect that
you could really give the 76ers, this young team, some trouble. I mean, they got Fultz playing out of his mind. They got Simmons, who is just walking with this swagger that, maybe is earned. We'll see. You earn a lot of that in the playoffs. And come back at the mask. A lot of really fun storylines. People are pointing the 76ers as the new team in the East. I mean, it's happened. This is 3 years been building for this moment here to make this run in the playoffs. And they draw the Spoelstra-led Heat. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I'm going to say 76ers in 6. I don't think it's going to be an easy series, but I think we're really going to kind of see. I believe in the 76ers. I think the Simmons is great, and Embiid is great, and I think this is going to really kind of, hey, NBA better be ready because the 76ers are here for a good while, man.
Sure are. There's no question about that.
Celtics and Milwaukee.
I think the Celtics will, win. I just think that it'll be a battle without Kyrie Irving. I just think Milwaukee's kind of a mess right now going into the playoffs, not where they should be. And it's interesting because everybody, again, another team like the Wizards had really high expectations. I think I picked the Bucks to finish second in the East this year at the beginning of the season. But the Celtics extremely well coached, probably, the best coaches side of Popovich. The Nate McMillan and Brad Stevens to me are 2 excellent coaches, and with Brad Stevens in this series, I just think that that Boston's got too much continuity, even without Kyrie Irving, even without Hayward, who they've missed all season. I just think the Celtics have too much proof, and they have home court advantage. But I think it'll go 6 or 7. I'm going to say Celtics in 7, but that'll be it. That'll be their one playoff series win.
I want to – my heart wants to go with Giannis. My heart wants to say, he's the best player in the series and maybe second best in the East. Well, depending on how you value the 76ers. But, I think Brad Stevens is such a good coach. They're just so good on defense, offense. I'm going to say season 5. Celtics.
Okay.
5. The Bucks are a mess. They have really –
yeah,
really
that may be a good. You're right. When it's always bad when you're falling apart entering the most important time of year, and that's kind of where Milwaukee stands.
Yep. So it brings us to the series we didn't talk about, the Cavs versus the Pacers. Once again, just like last year, the Cavs will play the Pacers. The Cavs do have home court. The Pacers do not have Paul George, but they do have emerging all-star, maybe all-pro, and Victor Oladipo. Sam, thoughts on the series with the Pacers?
Well, it'll be very interesting because the 4 times these teams played were all the Pacers won the season series 3-1, but all 4 of those games came before the trade. The last time the teams played was January 26th. The trades were February 8th. So this is a new situation. A new team. Who can forget the Cavs in Indiana? The one time we're up. Gosh, what were they up like? It was like 40-13 or something, and lost that game. So this is just a different Cavs team, a different approach. Now, last year, if you remember, a different Indiana team as well missed a last-second shot in Game 1 that should have won it for the Pacers. So in Game 1, the Cavs will have to come out considerably more focused. This isn't a 2 versus a 7 or a 1 versus an 8. This is a 4 versus a 5. Nate McMillan, an excellent playoff coach. He's proved that in his stints in Portland and Seattle before that. Back in Seattle, he had a team that wasn't supposed to do a whole lot in the playoffs that I think got to the Western Conference Finals and really was kind of like Ray Allen's breakout year. And Rashard Lewis, some of those guys on that team. Nate McMillan was a guy who gets his team to defend, plays smart. They don't make many turnovers, and that's the Pacers. They play very much that Nate McMillan style of basketball, which is very similar to Brad Stevens. To me, Nate McMillan's certainly the most underrated coach in the league, and to me, you're going to have to be on your toes if you're the Cavs because.
Yep.
The Pacers play hard, and they are driven by everybody saying they can't do stuff, And I suspect Game 1 to be fairly close as these teams kind of feel each other out. I can hear LeBron already after the game because he says it every year. Well, the first game's always a feel-out game. It's kind of his excuse for them playing poorly.
Right.
But, I could see that actually being the case this time because this is Indiana's just a well-coached team. They have some good big guys in Turner and Sabonis, who's had a nice year. Thaddeus Young always plays pretty well against the Cavs. Collison, the point guard's having a career season. So the Cavs will have to, this isn't one of those series where, like when the Cavs always seem to play the Atlanta Hawks in the playoffs every year, where it's like they can sleepwalk through this one, and they always do that. Or even last year against the Pacers, they kind of slept. It was the ugliest sweep in the history of the NBA playoffs.
It really was, yeah.
Because the Cavs trailed Game 3 by 25 points and had to overcome that.
Yep.
It's just an ugly, ugly series, and they were very frustrating to watch. So I suspect that won't be the case this year. I suspect that Cavs fans will be more pleased with the Cavs' performance in the first round, but I think Indiana, the way they play and their style is going to keep it very close.
I want to talk about matchups. Sam, who is going to guard Victor Oladipo?
Well, that's a good question. It could start with it just depends on who else is able to defend some of these other spots. It could end up being Jeff Green to start the games. He has the length. Is he going to be able to stay with him? And probably not. But, if he runs into foul trouble, it's not as big of a concern as if LeBron James should run into foul trouble. But they're definitely going to mix it up. I think George Hill will get a crack at him, simply because he's got those long arms and the playoff experience. Don't forget, this is Oladipo's first playoff run as the main man.
True.
And things can change a little bit. The Cavs are really going to look on shutting him down because people talk about the Cavs being a one-man team. The Pacers are kind of that way too, with Oladipo. And if you could figure out a way to slow the opposing team superstar, then you've come a long way in this series, especially because Indiana really only they have very nice players, don't get me wrong, around Oladipo, but they have one guy, one superstar, the one go-to guy. If you can slow him down in the playoffs, that's going to make the other guys who aren't comfortable stepping up. That's going to make them become key players, and that's where the Cavs' focus is going to be. So I suspect that they're going to rotate a lot of guys on him, try to make him miserable, probably bump him a lot, use their fouls on him, because that takes guys out of the rhythm when they're going to the free throw line all the time and not scoring and ones and those kind of things.
Yeah.
I think that the Cavs' battle plan for him is a good plan, which is, be physical and don't let him get into a rhythm. If he starts to get into rhythm, just start fouling him, because the Cavs have the depth where they can just throw guys in there to slow the game down and slow him down.
Yep. Let's flip this around. Obviously, the Pacers are going to be doing all they can to limit and slow down LeBron James. They have Lance Stevenson. They have a lot of kind of like bigger guys. Who do you see them throwing on LeBron?
Well, you just said, well, he doesn't start, but Lance Stevenson will see plenty of time on LeBron. They know that, nobody gets after LeBron like Lance Stevenson has done historically, whether it be in Miami when LeBron was in Miami or back with the Cavs. So Stevenson will be a huge part of what they're doing defensively. Thaddeus Young's going to obviously get his shot. He'll keep LeBron busy at the other end. But those are the two primary guys, and I think that they want to keep Oladipo fresh offensively. He doesn't have the size to match up with LeBron, so just expect to see a lot of Lance Stevenson. Expect him to really be in LeBron's face, trying to frustrate him. And he's only gotten to LeBron once. He's gotten to him one time, and it was this year, and LeBron kind of shoved him and got that technical foul. But yeah, and you know what? Lance Stevenson is a great kind of tune-up in the event that you eventually face Draymond Green down the road.
Yep.
Obviously not as talented, but that kind of fire and passion and defends LeBron pretty well. So expect to see a lot of him and expect to be annoyed with him quite a bit.
The winner of this matchup goes to play the winner of the Raptors-Wizards.
Yeah.
The Raptors win, obviously, they're being in Toronto. If the Wizards win, then the winner of this matchup will have home court against the Wizards. Sam, we have to go here just because it's our job. As journalists, worst case scenario, Cavs lose. What kind of domino effect does that start? Like, what reality are we looking at if, Pacers win in 6?
Well, the finals are going to get a lot worse ratings, but I would say
unless Philly.
Yeah, that's true. If it's Philly Golden State or Philly Rockets, people will tune in. Yeah. But I would say, if that's the worst, if that were to happen and the Cavs kind of fall apart and Indy just plays like Indy, there are a lot of things that are, people are going to say, the first thing people are going to say is LeBron's a goner. That's kind of been the overwhelming theme here in Portsmouth. The scouts and the GMs and stuff kind of feel like he's gone. But if they get to the finals and win a championship, he's not leaving. You know what I mean? So that's what I told
Cavs. No pressure.
Right. Yeah. I think even if they get to the finals, he wouldn't leave. But okay, I'll stick with your hypothetical. That's really going to draw that into question.
Oh, man.
Because he has said, and Rich Paul, his agent, has said repeatedly in interviews, it's all about, family and winning. And if they get into a situation where they just melt down, to me, Ty Lue would be the first domino to fall. Yeah. He would definitely get. They would definitely part ways with him, and frankly, then all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, it's time to start trading some of these guys. You start looking into trading Kevin Love again.
Yeah.
You may be open to trading guys like Rodney Hood, who's a restricted free agent, and sign and trades. There's, everybody becomes available in that type of situation. It would not be good for them to lose either this round or the next. Even if they have to play Toronto, who's going to have home court advantage, and they lose that series, or in the Eastern Conference Finals, dominoes will start to fall if they don't get back to the finals.
Sam, which would you rather be in this group with the Raptors, Wizards, Pacers, or the bottom group with the Celtics, Bucks, Heat, or 76ers? Granted, what team would switch, but I mean, I would rather be in the group that we're in now, right?
Yeah, I think that the Cavs would rather be in this group because they've owned Toronto.
Yep.
And that's going to be it could prove, and I don't think that this is a reach, it could prove that the Indiana Pacers are a bigger issue for the Cavs than the Raptors were getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's not to say that I guarantee they're beating either team, because they could potentially lose to both. Sure. But, they could lose to Indiana. They could lose to Toronto. But I think if we go back and look at the series at the end, Indiana will be a bigger issue for them to try. I think if they play the Raptors, which I think the Raptors will beat the Wizards, I think the Cavs will win that series in 6.
So let's give our predictions for this series.
Sure.
Cavs Pacers, what do you got?
I'm going to say the Cavs. I'm going to say the Cavs in 6, and I think that they may lose one of those first 2 home games. They've got to watch out for Game 1. Yeah. They really do. And LeBron's been great historically in Game 1s, but they've got to be careful. And I think that they're going to, as these teams kind of feel each other out in those first 2 games, I could see the Cavs losing one of those 2, but I think they'll correct it, get one in Indy, and then once LeBron teams get it corrected in the playoffs, they don't. It was just like the Bulls that one year when Derrick Rose hit that crazy shot and the Cavs went down 2-1.
Yeah,
they got it corrected the next game and then won 3 straight. So yeah. I could see something like that happening in this.
I was at that game that Derrick Rose hit that game winner. It was.
Oh man, I was there too. That was insane.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's what I'm saying. I'm looking at at the rosters, and obviously LeBron James sticks out, and I just can't see a Victor Oladipo-led team pushing a LeBron James team to the brink.
Yes.
And knowing the Cavs have home court, knowing how important LeBron knows it is to save every minute, every game, every rest, I don't think LeBron wants to waste any of his body minutes, any of his body games on this little junior high Pacer team. So I'm going to say
I can't wait till the Pacers podcasters get a hold of this.
Let's do it. I'm going to say Cavs in 4.
Wow.
And I just think, hey, Zero Dark 30. Let's go, man. It's time.
Probably
We've
right.
seen an MVP caliber season from LeBron this year.
Yeah.
And when he's fully engaged on both ends, I just think it transforms the Cavs team defense. And I love the Pacers. I love what they have going on.
Too.
I think they're great, but it's playoff basketball and it's LeBron. And I just can't see – they might get one game, but I don't think it's going to be even as competitive as last year, because I think Paul George is able to kind of throw haymakers with LeBron. He's able to go both ways. And I think in the playoffs – comes down to coaching and superstars. I don't think Oladipo is a superstar. I think he's a star.
Yeah, right. I agree.
He's not a super duper star. He's not a LeBron. He's not a Giannis. He's not a Ben Simmons. He's not any of these people that are just like the gravity of their play changes the team. And I know, his team, his play is great. Every award and every accolade and every attention that Oladipo's gotten is deserved this year. But I don't know. It's
not an insult either. He's just not at that A-level superstar status, and that's exactly right. He's down below that. And when you factor in that they don't have really that clear number 2 guy, even though Darren Collison has been great this year, Miles Turner can be great. He can be a real problem for the Cavs.
Yep. They have a lot of great pieces.
Yeah, and when growing up, I always said if there wasn't a team in Cleveland, the Pacers would have been my favorite team. I always loved the old Reggie Miller teams. I liked them after that. I liked them. Yeah. I've always liked Larry Bird being a guy who's been in position of power there until this season. I have a great deal of respect for what that team has accomplished, and you always like teams like that are they trade away a superstar and everybody makes fun of them, and they came to play this year, and they're certainly.
If we're like talking honestly, like they're overachieving, like
yes, absolutely, yes.
And I can't. Okay, my Cavs is showing. I understand that my Cavs is showing, but the Cavs in 4. It's
all right. Well,
and we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully next week we're saying, "Hey, look, you're right on track there with the pick chase."
We don't know. Sam, any final thoughts as we close out today?
Yeah, I think buckle up because this is a team that the Cavs fans can really rally behind. I don't know that they've said that in the past 3 runs because they were so frustrating, and it seemed to they didn't have the necessary cohesion. When you're talking about 3 superstars. But I think with one really super duper star, an all-star in Kevin Love, and a bunch of guys who are going to play hard, that's a huge thing, is that these guys play hard. They don't have any agendas. And there's no big egos other than LeBron, and LeBron deserves to have a big ego. Everybody here is out here to ride LeBron's coattails and use Kevin Love as much as they can to help him. I don't know that they've had that. And that's not a shot necessarily against Kyrie Irving. It's just they had before. Look, Kyrie hit the biggest shot in franchise history. But before, they had kind of that little bit of tension in the locker room between LeBron and Kyrie, mostly with Kyrie. And that's not there this year. And the same thing happened with Isaiah Thomas. That's not there this year. You have a team that is fun to watch, that has a superstar who's playing great at the age of 33 as well as ever. So I think this is going to be fun for Cavs fans, provided Coach Lou gets that rotation set, sticks with the rotation that works, and doesn't play guys who aren't getting the job done. I think it'll be great for a great fun ride for the Cavs fans.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for downloading and listening. Thank you for following us on Twitter, and thank you for checking out AmicoHoops.net for Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. We are looking for sponsors. Maybe you have your personal business or online venture you want to get more exposure. Please email us at podcast@cavsonthebreak.com, and we can do our best to make that work. Also, while you're at it, do us a favor, subscribe, rate, leave us a review of our podcast. It does help with iTunes and other search algorithms, help us come up first. You can follow Sam on Twitter at Amico Hoops. Get all of his work and writings at AmicoHoops.net. You can follow us on Twitter at Cavs on the Break. And that's all we got. Thank you so much for listening. Mike Breen, take us out!
Congratulations, Cleveland. Your decades-long wait is finally over. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.